Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show, Help a Healer Out. I am Master Kataka, and I am interviewing people, healers, that are wanting to ask questions and get a little information about some tips and tricks and concepts that I teach with Reiki and sound healing and business, and how to actually be a successful business as a healer. So I want to welcome Sahira K. Welcome.
Thank you.
She is from Houston, Texas, and she is a Reiki Master. In fact, she's one of my graduated alumni from We Heal University. And she's also an empath and a Heyoka. And she also, I just want to say, she also, not only does she do healing and connect with people, gets energetic psychic downloads from people, or for people, I should say, but she also has a chakra cleansing bath salt product. And in the video, where we'll put some links in the video, description, so that people, if they're interested in purchasing that they can get it from you. So welcome to Help a Healer Out.
Thank you so much, Master Kataka.
Yay.
Really excited to be here.
Yay. I'm so happy. And well, I know you had some questions about your business. I know you're just starting your business. And can you tell me just a little bit about, like, where are you in regards to, have you done some healing sessions on people before? How long have you been doing those? Tell me a little bit about what's going on with that, what your experience is so far with that.
Absolutely. So after I finished and graduated, I started around in August, and I have reached out to very close friends, and I've done a couple of sessions. It's been really an amazing experience for each person. In each session, I get a lot of downloads for them as I heal. I concentrate on, what I do is I check to see how they are doing. I kind of scan them. And then I focus on those areas that need a little bit more help, where they're blocked. I leave, I have music in the background for them to concentrate and, to help them. And, for them, one of the things I do help them and to relax. And I tell them, just don't focus on an outcome, or don't expect to feel or something, just relax and just go with the flow and not expect anything per se. And that's when they start feeling, oh my gosh, I'm starting, and I let them talk to me. What are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? And they're like, yes, I'm starting to feel a little bit of pressure. So we focus on there.
Right.
I also do, depending on how blocked they are, I also use my essential oils for each chakra.
Yeah.
And I use the crystals as well on all the chakra points as well. And then, as you previously mentioned, towards the end, I do recommend, a salt bath, just to help them out more on that chakra that was very blocked.
Nice. Okay, so let's set this up a visual for people. So far you have been connecting with friends and family.
That's correct.
And kind of practicing healing work and your specific healing modalities on these people, right?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. So tell me, are you laying them down on a massage table or on a bed or something like that?
I do have a massage table. I have a couple of covers that per session I clean them. They're all nice and clean. I have a room where I set up, and it's just, I clean the area, the ambience, lower and dim the lights just so they feel more comfortable. I have like a little blanket and water for them after. Just try to get them as comfortable, and I try to set the music in the background.
Right. Set the mood, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you have a sacred healing space in your home?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And do you have, are you planning on doing, as you grow your business, are you planning on like getting a, for example, an office space or anything like that?
As I get more clientele, then I'll focus on either renting a space. And for now, as I get the clientele, I'm just going to do virtual.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just working on
That's great.
virtual. I've done a couple of virtual ones in other states as well.
Mm.
I've done in Georgia, Florida, and New York.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's been really, 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 I mean, the outcome has been great. They feel it. Even I tune in and, I ask, is there something you want me to focus on? And I had already written it down.
Okay. Wow.
Before
Cool.
yeah.
So you were already downloading
It
before you.
was already downloaded before the session. So as soon as I ask, I write it down just to confirm, and then I show them, look, this is what I got.
That's
So
great.
it's kind of, yeah, so it's interesting, but yeah,
That's great.
where
So
we
you're doing not only, so you're doing in person when, when we can do that, right?
that's correct.
And if you're only doing it right now with friends and family, that's very different than doing a healing with somebody who, is a stranger who you don't know, who's a client who you are just meeting. Maybe they found you online or through word of mouth, right? But you're also doing on the phone, or are you doing on the phone, or are you doing video?
I do video. I'll
Okay,
do
great.
either FaceTime or Zoom.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so yeah, and those are really like, because of the way that the world is right now, where we're predominantly online, and that, it's really cool, because it really doesn't matter where you live, you can do a session. And that is a really important situation, because people are really starting to understand about distance healing and how it actually does work. I mean, there are people that are skeptics about, oh, how could you not, how could I get healing if you're 3,000 miles away, But the fact is, time and space doesn't matter at
That's
all. It's a
absolutely.
man-made construct, right? So if you have an intention and you're sending that intention, this, it's going to work. And I've been doing phone and video sessions for years. But of course, in the last few years, it's really like I'm predominantly doing phone sessions, just because that works really well for me. And I can, one of my abilities is that I'm more auditory. I can hear the information that I need in the person's voice. So
Right.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, but I know you had some questions today, and let me just roll back a little bit. So when you're doing a session, you've got your sacred space at your home. You invite somebody in, you lay them down on the massage table, you get them comfortable. You have ambient music or soft music, turning the lights down, that type of thing, and then you are, I'm assuming, doing hands-on healing, maybe doing
Yes.
some guided meditation information that you're giving to them. And what is happening for them? Are they kind of just out like a light? Are they falling asleep? Are they going into kind of a mellow, lucid dream state? What usually happens for your people, for your clients?
Some start feeling either like a hot or pressure, or some just kind of relax.
What do you
They
mean by
relax and
pressure?
pressure. They feel like when I put the crystal on, they feel like it's really, really heavy, and they
Okay.
feel like a pressure. So that's usually when they're blocked. So I
Mm,
just try to focus, and I just tell them to breathe and guide them through it. And that I sometimes I don't even put my hands, because that's one of the things. Prior to all of this, I do have a form that allows them to show me where I can put lay my hands on.
okay.
And I do advise, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
However, Reiki healing is, it heals your energy and cleanses.
Yeah.
But I do mention I am not a doctor, and whatever you're doing, just don't stop your medication or anything
Right.
like that. So,
Good. Good.
and I do focus on where I can lay my hands. Sometimes I just hover them, even if they allow me. I just hover them there. I don't feel the need.
Mm,
I have the crystals, and I just move according to how they're feeling, and I see their body, their body reaction. But for the most part, they don't fall asleep. They just feel very relaxed. They feel very relaxed, calm. I've had one of my clients used the inhaler a lot and always felt a pressure on their chest. And literally after the session, they just felt it came off. That pressure was relieved. And they would say they now use the inhaler 20% of the time.
Wow. Wow.
80%. Yeah, absolutely. It was great to hear that in just one session. So
wow. And that's interesting. Hopefully they'll, you know, continue to come back and get more sessions, you know, so that they can continue the process of releasing that. And I wanted to make a comment about it's interesting that I also have had clients in the past where they have felt very heavy on the table. They're like, oh, I feel like I can't move my legs or my arms. I just feel so heavy. I tend to think of that as, you know, the Reiki or the healing energy is going into the body and just kind of cleaning stuff up and releasing stuff. And I also think that sometimes it's just that when people are go, 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 and then they relax during the day, you know, it's almost kind of like their blood pressure goes down, you know, their blood pressure goes down from like, you know, just, okay, it's like, going, go. And then it's like, and then they get heavy because I just feel like I just think it's their blood pressure, but it's also them relaxing and, you know, just having the body say, oh, I get to relax, you know, during this time. And then the mind is like, wait a minute, it's, you know, whatever, 2:00 in the afternoon. Why are we laying down? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's an interesting thing to notice. And I think that's what's going to happen as you do more sessions. You're going to notice people have different reactions and responses to whatever healing, you know. I mean, that is awesome that you had somebody, you know, basically more than cut their you know, inhaler usage in half. And you'll start to see other unique, you know, things that are going to go on with people. People are going to be like, oh my gosh, my mind is clearer. Or you know, I've had and heard and seen all types of really amazing stuff happen for people as they've done sessions.
Absolutely.
Now, the thing I want to say about it is that, you know, it's super cool to get that confirmation. And ultimately, we're not doing it. Ultimately, we are, as you know, we're holding that container of space so that these people can then feel or get the permission or the confidence or the empowerment to heal themselves. Right?
That is correct.
So it's like, okay, cool. We worked together. The client and the healer worked together to create this response in the client. And so it's very it's humbling, and it's also empowering for us. Like, okay, cool, it worked, you know?
Yes. Absolutely. I think at the beginning, once you know, yes, you go through the course, but you kind of doubt yourself at the beginning. You're like, is this really, am I doing it right? You know, did it work? Trying to make sure that you are grounded. And because I think at the beginning you do kind of get tired because you're not really grounded. So that's another thing that can be challenging. But once you learn, the more you do, I think you start understanding how you're channeling the healing, the Reiki healing. So
that's a good point you make. Actually, you know, I got to tell you, most beginners get tired or they even get sick. And why is that? Well, it's because they're using their own energy to try to fix the person. And they or their boundaries are down, and they're taking in, they're not keeping their boundaries up, and they're taking in the energetic disease of the person, right? So I got to tell you, I never get tired when I do healings. Like, I get normal tired, like, okay, I've been on, so to speak, because I've got a person, who is a client, and I have to, have my good bedside manner, like, let me give you some water. Are you warm enough? Or let me get you a blanket, that type of thing, right? So, when you're doing that after a long day of doing that over and over again, of course, normally a human would get tired, and you got to go, it's time for bed at the time that you go to bed, right? But when I do healings, I can do many, many healings in a day, and I don't get tired because of the Reiki energy, or because, and that's the trick that all students, all healers need to understand. It's having those impeccable boundaries, those good boundaries, and also not using your own energy, letting the Reiki source, right? I always talk about this, having the Reiki source come down your body, into your body, and let it go out your hands.
Exactly.
And right. And let the Reiki energy do the work, not you.
Not you. Yes.
So if you find yourself getting a little tired, notice it and say, okay, was there a moment, or was there a time during the session where I was wanting to use my energy to try to, get them to a better place? Or, you know what I mean? Because listen, sometimes people they can't feel anything. That doesn't mean that you're a bad healer. It's that maybe they're disassociated from their feelings. Maybe they don't, maybe they can't, they're numb. You don't know that. We don't know that, So that's the trick to this, is that, having those impeccable boundaries and allowing the Reiki energy to come through you, so that it will, do what the intelligence of the Reiki needs to do for that person, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. So this is great. So yeah, just noticing that. And I know that you had some questions today. Let's get to those questions and talk about, how I can help you, answer those questions, and see if we can get to a place of clarity. So
great, thank you. So one of the things that I know that I've started my business, I mean, with people that I know, very few family and friends. So what would you recommend to start off your business? Like, do you mean like creating an LLC or a DBA, or what would you recommend when you just start off fresh?
Right. Great question. So I would recommend to keep it very simple, and it's a lot less expensive to get a DBA, which is also known as the DBA stands for doing business as, and it's also called a fictitious name statement. You can get that at your local city or county office, and it's like the assessor's office. The basically every city and state, every city and town mostly has like a business office for business owners. And so you go there, and you would get this fictitious name statement. You're going to obviously put your information in there, like your social security number, etc. And then you're going and putting, your ID and all that, and you give it to the officer there, and they will register it as, like, for example, Kataka Gara is doing business as We Heal University. Okay. So it would be considered a sole proprietorship, or, it's you as a solo person running this business. Okay. And there's usually a fee. It's usually super cheap. I'm talking maybe between $25 and $50. Okay. Depending on where you live. Right. So you get that license, but then you have to take that license, and usually the office will help you. You have to publish the announcement of your new business in like a local newspaper for 4 weeks. It's a legal thing you have to do to make it legitimate. And so it's kind of like, it's almost like a baby announcement. And the reason why you have to post it in the newspaper is so that in case somebody else has the same name as your business, they can go and say, oh, wait, no, I'm already doing business as this fictitious name, whatever it's going to be. Okay. So normally that doesn't happen. Usually people like you just do it as a legal, a legal practice. And I should say, part of the process. And then in a couple of weeks, they send you a business license. And it's usually just a piece of paper that says, okay, Kataka Gara is doing business as We Heal University at this address, and the license usually lasts for 1 year. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Then you have to re-register or you have to renew it. Now, if you've made a certain amount of money in your city, and it's different for every city, but if you've made a certain amount of money, you have to pay taxes. Okay. And
Okay.
usually small businesses don't have to pay taxes, but you do have to renew the business license every year. Okay.
I see. Okay. So it is, you have to renew it every year. It's
Yep.
not, so it's a little different than like an LLC, right?
Yeah. So the DBA is the easiest thing for somebody who's just starting out doing healing work,
Okay.
because you're looking at, for example, and I'm just going to say one more thing about the DBA. The great thing about getting a business license, the DBA that makes it so that you get the business license, is that
Right.
then you can go to a bank and you can get a business banking account. And
Okay.
from there, as you move forward, you can get, business credit and, go and it's what you need. It's what everybody needs,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. Thank you.
But with an LLC, that LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation, I believe, LLC. And that's also usually a 1 or 2 person situation, 1 or 2 person business. However, an LLC, what that's going to do is it's the limited liability means that if somebody sues you for
Okay.
some reason, oh, I'm suing you because you gave me, you did a Reiki session on me and then, now I'm blind. Not that that's going to happen, but
Right.
but you never know, people are, now as a result of doing the Reiki session, I was in a car accident and now my car is totaled. I'm going to sue you. So you don't want to be sued for something
Right.
ridiculous, right?
Absolutely.
And some, I mean, you just don't want to be sued as a small business, it'll, because it doesn't, as a small business, it won't, if you're doing it as a DBA sole proprietor, they'll take it from you. They'll take it from your money, from your bank account. With an LLC, it's the business that is a new entity. It's almost like the business is its own human, a new
Okay.
human, right? So if somebody was to sue you,
Mhm.
if somebody was to sue you, then they wouldn't sue you, they would be suing the business.
Okay.
It'd
So
protect the
even,
business.
sorry, for DBA and or LLC, would you need a insurance?
Technically, no,
Oh, really?
you don't need insurance.
Oh,
But
okay.
let me talk to you a little bit about that, because that's a great question. So again, the fictitious, or excuse me, the DBA or the sole proprietorship is technically what it's called, the sole proprietorship, the small business,
Okay.
the LLC are in business. They're just the business entities, right?
Right.
If you choose to buy insurance, that's protecting the business entity and ultimately protecting you.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why people have insurance, is to protect themselves just in case, right?
Okay.
So you're not required to have insurance if you have the sole proprietorship or an LLC. And let me just say, there's also a couple of other different corporations.
Okay.
Those are for much bigger entities, like there's an S Corp and then there's a C Corp. Those probably are not going to necessarily happen to you unless you're like pulling in, 6 and 7 figures, and you have to get like if your business super grows, like it gets monstrous, right?
Okay.
And usually that's like a team effort,
Got it.
But that being said, you would start out with the sole proprietorship to just make sure that you get a business license and the banking, I mean, really it's for banking, really,
Banking.
you know.
Okay.
And then as you grow, yes, you could get an LLC. Let's say, for example, you do what I'm doing. Like I'm doing healing sessions, but I have an online business and it's growing, growing, growing. So, if I'm making, over $100,000 a year, I don't want to, I want to protect that, I don't want
Right.
that to, I don't want anything to happen. So it's better to make the business its own entity. And that's how you can do that with the LLC
Got it.
or an S corp or S corp, but they're very expensive. I mean, you're looking at like, average LLC is about $800 to $1,000 if you do it
Oh,
yourself.
oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
And then an S corp, you have to pay, I believe you have to pay every quarter. And it's a certain amount of money. And you also have to, there's just a lot of things with an S corporation because it's a corporation.
Right.
You have to have, you have to have certain articles with the business. You have to have certain people that are on your board of directors, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. It's not a single person situation, you know.
Okay.
An LLC can be a single person situation, and of course, so can the sole proprietorship, hence the name sole proprietor, right?
Right.
But not
Okay,
the
that
S
makes
corp,
sense.
not
Okay.
really the S corp. So, and then insurance. Let's talk a little bit about that. I have insurance, for and I didn't for many years because I was like, "Ah, I don't need insurance, But then, as I started growing, I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy insurance. And you can get insurance. There's actually a Reiki insurance that you can
Oh,
buy,
okay.
and it's totally not in my brain right now. But I on my website, you can see that I have the logo of that insurance. It's like, I think it's called the International like Association of Reiki Practitioners or
Oh,
something like that.
interesting.
And you can buy that. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's a little over $100, I think, for a year.
For a year?
Yeah, and it
Very worth it.
protects you. Yeah, it protects you just like it would protect a yoga teacher or a massage therapist.
Okay.
The same type of protective insurance in case somebody gets hurt or
Okay.
they sue you.
Okay. Wow,
So
that's great.
yeah, so I have a link for that I can give to you,
Absolutely. Thank you.
and then you'll be able to sign up for it, and it's quite easy.
Yeah,
So yeah, so let's see. I know you had a couple other questions here. Do you want to go ahead and ask me those questions?
absolutely. So what would you recommend to set your price? So being new, straight out of, the class and learning all
Yeah,
this, it's
yeah,
like, okay, so what's next? How do I charge? Or, I mean, I'm a newbie, so do I charge less? All these questions start popping up that I
right,
just don't know what to do.
right,
What would you
right.
recommend?
That's a great question. And it's one of the main questions that I get. That basically, you know, first and foremost, you have to understand what the market in your city or town will bear.
Okay.
Okay. So what does the market bear? Like if you're living in a big urban, city setting like I am, you can charge hundreds and some people charge thousands,
Okay.
of dollars, whether it's for a session or for coaching or for, anything like that. But if you're in a smaller town, you have to find out what are other healers charging, you know?
Okay.
So you're in Houston, and
Yes.
Houston would be, in my estimation, considered an urban setting. I know it's not as big as Los Angeles.
That's
It's not as
okay.
big as Manhattan or even, San Francisco type of situation, right? But, and also it's not, I would think it would be not as expensive to live there.
That's correct.
Okay, so you need to go either online or look at your local, like city magazines. You know how you can get local city newspapers and city magazines like at the local coffee shop?
That's correct. Yeah.
Or even if there's a bulletin board at the coffee shop or something like that, you can find out what people are charging
Okay.
for healing sessions. Okay. Then depending on your experience, confidence, and ability,
Okay.
or your offering, you can charge accordingly what you want to charge. Okay, so let me give you a couple examples. All right. When I was this is many years ago, but when I was starting out in the San Francisco Bay Area, I mean, you know, I was still a teenager. Okay. I was and so I was charging somewhere around I think I was charging like 50 or $75. Now that was, many, many years ago, and so as I became more confident and I created my specific abilities and I created, like, oh, I'm going to use crystals now, or I'm going to do guided meditation, or I'm going to do, something unique that maybe another Reiki practitioner doesn't do, you know? And
Right.
so then you can have more confidence to say, okay, I'm charging more. Okay. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. The other thing I would suggest is, and this is more in the marketing tip, but this will help a little bit. If you get people to give you word of mouth references,
Okay.
if you get people to, for example, write a testimonial for you online,
Okay.
it's somebody else's word with their experience of taking a session from you. And so humans, we have a tendency to believe somebody else's, third party testimonial of, oh,
Absolutely.
well, that person, it happened well for them. Oh, well, that must be, maybe she's really that good, and the crazy thing is, usually, word of mouth is very powerful. And usually friends can say, hey, go check out, go check out so and so, they're doing this, they're da, da, da. Like, how the whole concept of the third party, like, oh, go to that restaurant, like, oh, that restaurant is
Yes.
great. So usually when our friends refer us to good restaurants, we believe them. But when our
Mhm.
friends or family refer us to somebody like a healer, we don't believe them.
True.
So what happens instead is that you have to rely on third party edification, third
Okay.
party like referrals or like reviews. Okay.
Okay.
So with that gives you confidence, and then in turn you can charge more.
More. Okay.
What I notice with people usually with is the only reason why people aren't charging more is because they don't feel like their ability or their value is worth more.
Okay.
And that is a psychological thing.
Okay.
That's a psychology issue, or psychological issue, I should say, where people think, oh, I'm just a beginner, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to do it very well. Maybe not, but I'll tell you, uh, you know, I always have a rule that I always talk to about with my students, and it is always my personal goal that my students charge at least $100 for
Okay.
a session.
Okay.
Because think about all the preparation you're doing before you're setting up a space in your home. You've got, crystals that you've probably purchased. You know what I mean? You are intending this sacred space for them. And when that person gets that healing, they're not just getting it and then it's done. It actually can impact their lives, sometimes for the rest of their lives. So
Absolutely.
so $100 for an hour is actually a great deal if something's going to impact you for many, many, maybe weeks or months or even years to come, right?
That is very true.
So so I would say, number one, look at what your market will bear in
Okay.
your city. Okay. Number two, keep in mind that I always want you to be paid at least $100 an hour for
Okay.
this type of work. Okay. And number three, this is the piece that where we've got like kind of some free will. Okay. So
Okay.
what I'm going to say to you is develop your confidence, number one, and then number two, develop your abilities, your healing and your practicum, your practice. And then number three, I would also say develop, if you develop other things that you do, like, I know how to do Reiki, but I also know how to do emotion code healing really well. I use muscle testing. Kinesiology. I know crystals really well. I also know EFT, the tapping thing that I've shown people. And then also there's the sound healing that I do. That is a lot of
That
offering,
is
and
absolutely.
and people are, when I do a session with somebody, I'll do Reiki, emotion code healing. We can do some diagnostic stuff, with the kinesiology, and then sound healing, right? And guided meditation too. So
Yes.
it's an experience that people have. And, I charge, a lot right now at the time of this video, I will say, because it's all over the internet what I charge. I charge $400 for a session for them to come to my, environment. And on the phone, I do a $300.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So I'm not shy about telling people how much I charge. And there's some weird stuff with people like, oh, I don't want to announce it. Well, you know what? That's so stupid. It's like, what do you mean you don't want to announce it? How are people going to know what your business is if you don't
Ex-
if you don't say,
Exactly.
you don't have to, people don't have to compare themselves to others.
That is very true.
There are other Reiki healers that charge more than me.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, I'm sure there are, I mean, it depends on the environment they're in. What is their market? Who are they specifically, attracting, right?
Okay.
And of course there are people that have been doing, healing as long as I have, and they charge less.
Yeah.
It depends
Absolutely.
on the person, what do they offer? Where do they live? All of that.
Yes.
I mean, but like I said, I really don't want my students charging. I think that if you live in America, if you live in even Canada, even Europe, honestly, no one should be charging less than $100 an hour
An hour.
per session.
Okay. Very good.
If you're telling me that you live in Ecuador or you live in South America, where the financial rate is lower, I can understand it being less. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But
Yeah, that makes more sense.
not any of the other countries I mentioned, So
Absolutely.
mhm.
Very good.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend, like, to start, the only group of people that I've connected with is friends and family. How
Right.
do I broaden that and start
Right.
reaching out to others? And, how do you make, promoting yourself and being believable that, yeah, besides the benefits of Reiki?
Right. There are so many ways to get the word out. And this is one of my specialties. I love getting the word out. And we already have, you have the internet, of course. You can, if you are a location-based healer,
Okay.
most people, that's changing. Okay.
Okay.
So location-based is, yes, you live in Houston, but you want to mostly do virtual.
Correct.
You don't necessarily want to have people come to your place or whatever, right? So for people though, I'll just say this, for people that are location based, or location dependent, if you want to call it that, I would suggest they can put their information on not only like Instagram or social media or Facebook. Facebook is really trying to become more of a localized thing, right?
Okay.
But you've also got Yelp. I don't like Yelp, but Yelp is one option where you can get reviews. What's even better though is Google Places. It's called Google Places, and you can
Okay.
have your business on Google. And Google, when people type in or research, I'm looking for a Reiki healer or whatever, hopefully your stuff will come up, right? In your neighborhood.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to suggest Google Places, Yelp. These are location based, right?
Okay.
If you're gonna get the word out in a larger way, and you need to meet people,
Mhm.
there are events. You can go to events and you can pass your business card out if you have a business card. There's also meetup.com. meetup.com is really powerful, because meetup.com is a website that you can join groups on that website of your various interests, whatever they are, book clubs, or I like to go skiing, or I like, Italian Vespa scooters, or Reiki or whatever. And you meet up with the people. They set up appointments or in the calendar, and you meet up with people that are in the group in person.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So meetup.com is a really great, genius website, for
Okay.
that, to meet up with people of your interests. Okay. And also just events generally, that's how I would get the word out. Now, the other
Okay.
way to get the word out is you can actually buy advertising on Google or on Facebook, or you can even buy an advertisement in a regular, like, local magazine. Like, for example, I bet you there's a local Houston magazine or newspaper, right?
Yes.
And
do
they
have
have
one.
want ads in there.
Okay.
So want ads, you pay whatever. Let's say you pay $50 a month for a want ad, and you can just put, come and get a Reiki session, call this number or go to this website. So that's another way to do it. Now, a lot of new people don't want to spend money on advertising. Okay. I didn't want to spend money on advertising, but I'm going to tell you, do you want, the question is, do you want your business to go slow or fast?
Okay.
So for as little as, let's say, 50, maybe $100 a month, you could put an advertisement either in a local, they call them a rag, local rag magazine, right?
Right.
Or even on Google,
Okay.
and then when people go do a search,
Okay.
local search, your information will come up. Now, there's a lot of little steps to that I'm not going to go into. You'd have to find out the magazine that you want to, make sure that what is the circulation of it, and even with Google, most people under the age of, I'm going to say 40,
Okay.
know how to use the internet, right?
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it might be a little easier for them to go on Google and figure out, how do I put an ad on Google?
Okay.
And also we've got YouTube, which you can basically
Right.
find out how to do anything by
Yeah.
watching YouTube videos, right?
Absolutely.
So that would be another thing, another way to do it. But then I'll tell you this, if you want to go kind of like bootstraps, from the bootstraps up, grassroots, and you don't want to spend any money, well, you've got this. It's called a phone, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually your list of potential people, right?
Okay.
You've
Yeah.
got an address book in here of people that you know. Usually
Yes.
people have at least 100 or 200 people. I think
Yes.
I have like 800 phone numbers in here for people, and some people I haven't talked to in a long time, and some people I have. So you can text them, you can email them, you can call them and say, hello, how are you? Hey, what are you up to? Let's say you call some long lost friend that you haven't talked to. Hey, what are you up to? Well, I just graduated. I'm now now I'm a Reiki master,
Right.
and just graduated from We Heal University. I'm doing Reiki healing. And then this is what I would do if you're calling people. You don't ask them directly, hey, would you like to come over and I'll give you a session? People are going to be like, what? No,
No.
people are going to be like, I'm not going to pay you. You're you're somebody I know. And I'm like, what you do instead is when you're talking and you're developing rapport with them, you would say, who do you know? Do you know somebody who would benefit from getting some Reiki healing? And
Very-
ask them for a referral. You
Okay.
ask them to give you a name and a number. And some people are like, no, I'm not going to give their name and number to you, because people sometimes are like privacy issues.
Right.
But if you talk to somebody and they know and trust you, then they're like, oh yeah, you know what? Joe down the street, he actually just hurt his knee and he probably could benefit from some Reiki. Here's his number and name, or here's his email, and people will give you, their information. And then you call the person and you say, I was referred to you by, so and so, right?
Awesome. Very good. Thank you. Absolutely.
I think that's the way to drum up business, because ultimately it's not like we're trying to get millions of people. You know,
Right.
it's not like social media. We're like, ah, I've got 1 million followers. It's not going to benefit you. You know, I mean, you have to think about how much do you want to make a month? Okay.
Okay.
And then let's pretend for a moment that you're charging $100 a session. Okay.
Hmm.
You also have to think about your lifestyle, and do you have family members there? Are you busy with other things? But you know, if you said to yourself, gosh, I really want to, my goal is to get 3 clients a week.
Yes.
3 clients times 1 week is times 100 for 1 week is $300.
Right.
4 weeks in a month is $1,200,
Right.
right? 3, 6, 9, $1,200, right? Three
Right.
people a week at $100. So $1,200 is good. Now that might be a little overwhelming. That might be like, oh my God, 3 people a week. Well, why don't we start with one person a week? You do one
Okay.
session a week at $100. That's an extra $400 in a month.
Right.
And check this out. What could you do with $400 in a month? Well, gosh, you know what? If you started your business, you could afford, you know, $25 a week in a local rag magazine for advertising. You could even do $25 a week for Google ads, you know?
Yes.
So you've
Absolutely.
got that $400 chunk,
Right.
and then it just grows from there, but you have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
So I
And
would just say,
that was
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
one of the things I was like trying to understand. I
Yeah.
do work full-time in corporate America,
Yeah.
but I love to do Reiki. So it's like slowly but surely trying to evaluate, okay, how can I fix my schedule?
Yeah.
And mainly it's, I mean, on the weekends, but I like to do some, after work. And
Right.
how many clients can I take, after
Yeah.
work? And
Yeah.
just,
You get to figure that out. You get to figure that out. And I would start obviously with 1 week. That to me would be a great goal. 1 week,
absolutely.
you know, and then building up from there. Now, maybe on the phone, if you're not seeing somebody in person, maybe you can do more than 1 week. You know, maybe it feels better to do like I can do 3 a week or something, depending
Right.
on, right? Now, keep in mind, after you do the session, a good practitioner will follow up with them.
Yes.
Whether 24 to 48 hours, you follow up, give them a call or text them. How are you feeling after the session? Did you have anything come up? Do you have any questions? And then, would you like to book another session?
That was my next question. So how do you keep them coming? Or how do you,
Yeah.
what is it like weekly or bi-weekly or monthly that you recommend them coming back?
It is individual for each person,
Okay.
Sometimes I will see clients once a week.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll see them, I won't see them for a year or two.
Okay.
Really depends. But most of the time, people that come to me for a session, they'll come back again,
Okay.
because they want the experience, they want the healing, if they're feeling stressed out,
Right.
and so I don't ever have an expectation that somebody's going to come back after they've seen me again. I never do,
Okay. Okay.
but I'm always going to ask. And also the other thing you can do is if they're coming to you and they really want more, you can always offer them a package deal.
Okay.
And what that is like, well, if you pay for 5 or 10 up front, you'll have those locked in. I'll give you a slight discount as a result of, it's like buying something in bulk,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes more sense.
So
And you
you,
can, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
so
just
then
trying
you
to
can,
think, yeah.
yeah, you
I
can
guess you kind
typically,
of like show it as a savings as a package. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you. That just
yeah,
like a nice light bulb there.
yeah. So here's how I would look at it. Like, let's say you offer somebody who wants to, let's say somebody comes to you and says, I have this bad habit. I smoke.
Okay.
I smoke too much. I don't want to smoke anymore. or it doesn't have to be smoking. It can say, oh, I have a broken heart, or, oh my gosh, I've got a bad habit of like, I overeat or something, anything. It could
Right.
be anything. I'm afraid of spiders. I don't know, something, pick
Right.
it, right? You can say to them, we could work specifically on that.
Okay.
It won't just take one session though.
Right.
So I have a package deal of either, you pick it 3 or 5 or 10,
Right.
and then you will come back every week or every other week or however many times, and we'll specifically work on that. And if anything else comes up, that's okay too,
Okay.
but we'll be focused on whatever this thing is. That is a package deal where somebody comes to you and they specifically want to release something or get rid of something. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It just kind of depends,
Do you charge those packages up front, or do you take like even for a reservation, do you take like a security deposit or?
Yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about that. So those are two separate things. First
Okay.
off, let me just say this. The reason why the person would get a good deal on the package deal is because they are paying you up front a large sum, the whole sum. So the fact that they're doing that, that's the benefit of that for you, is that you get this big chunk of money. The benefit for them is that they get a discount.
Okay.
So if somebody says, yes, I want a package deal, but can I just pay as I go? Well, that's not a package deal.
Right. That makes sense.
It's not a deal, quote unquote. It's, the only reason why you buy something in bulk is so that you can get it for a cheaper price because you
Okay.
bought a big amount of it,
Right.
right? Like Costco.
True. That's a
Right?
very good one. Yes.
Okay. Or Sam's
Absolutely.
Club or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that is the purpose of that. So when somebody says to you, yeah, I'll take a package deal of 10, and you're like, okay, that's $1,000.
Okay.
And then they pay you that $1,000. They don't, or you say to them, well, normally I would charge for 10 sessions. If I'm charging 100 times 10 is
Right.
$1,000.
1,000.
However, for you, I'll sell it to you, or for you as the package deal, I'll do it for 900.
Right.
And then you're going to get one session for free.
Okay. That makes sense.
So
like
that would be the way to do it. Like, okay, wow, I'm still getting 900, which is close to 1,000. Right.
Right.
And I'm getting it all up front, and then
Yeah.
they're getting the deal because wow, they're getting 10 sessions and they're getting one of those sessions for free.
Okay.
It's a win-win. Okay. So bulk pricing, package deal pricing is always that they will pay you up front.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the other question you had was about what was the other one you were talking
The reservation, like
Yes.
when you make an appointment. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Because now back in the day, a long time ago, I would have people just come to the session, and I trusted that they would show up, and then they would
Okay.
pay me afterwards.
Okay.
This world has become faster and busier, and people don't always remember appointments. Not only that, but they sometimes don't know how to use the calendar. So in order to confirm an appointment with me,
Mhm.
you have to pay up front in full.
In full.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I don't do I never do a deposit.
Okay.
Never.
Do you,
Not like a deposit. It's like, no, you just pay for it. Like when you go to the grocery store before you eat it, you pay, right? You know what I mean?
yes.
It's not like at a restaurant where you eat first and then you pay.
And that, right.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
So if that client doesn't show up, do they have that credit there, or is that like you didn't show, that was your appointment? Sorry.
Depends. That depends on you.
Okay.
I mean, usually if somebody's paid up front and you've created the space for them and they don't show up, well, that could have been for someone else.
Absolutely.
So if they're not showing up for the space that they paid for, that money is basically used for that space. And if they flake, or if an emergency happens, listen, if there's a legitimate emergency, of course I'd be like, depending on my schedule, sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll that's fine. Let's reschedule. Sometimes it's also a relief for me. Like, okay, great. I can go take a nap or something, or I can go do something else. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And I already have their money.
yeah,
I already have their money, so it's fine, right?
right.
So basically, you know, that is you've created that space for them, and if they flake for it, it's already paid for. What
Okay,
you choose to do whatever they want to do, if they've committed to that time, if they choose not to show up, you can say, I'm really sorry, but you didn't show up.
okay.
Now, a lot of times people get embarrassed about something like that, so you might lose a client.
Yes, yeah,
So what you could do, another way to do it is say to them, you've already paid, but I'll tell you what, uh, I'm willing to reschedule with you, but there has to be a fee for that. So how about, we do a 50%. So I'll give you that 50, you've already paid 100. I'll give you that $50. I'll give you a $50 credit. I'll
okay,
give you half of it, right? So then they
right.
still have to pay you another additional $50 for the
That's a
makeup
very good
session,
one.
right?
Awesome, that's great.
Good deal, if you ask me. They're getting a good deal because they flaked. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you had your appointment, you had everything laid out and ready for
right,
that.
right.
Very
But
good.
but normally, I got to tell you, normally, like I'll tell you, I would only do that 50% thing with somebody who had already seen before.
Okay,
If it's a new person that's never come to me ever, I don't know who they are, and then they flake,
yeah,
I'm
okay,
sorry, they don't get anything back.
yeah. No,
You know,
these are really good pointers because I mean, you've been in this industry for so long and
right?
starting off, this is really, really informative.
Yeah,
It saves you time and it's also your work. It's taking it serious is, anywhere else.
yeah,
If you don't, you make that appointment, you have to put a deposit or whatever the
exactly.
case may be, and you don't
Right,
get that money back.
right.
So
Right, totally. I mean, like hotels don't, if you don't show up for your hotel room, I
yeah, that's very
mean,
true. That's a very
sometimes,
good,
sometimes they'll, but if there's a show, let's say there's a show you go to, a concert,
yeah.
you don't show up for the concert or you're late, they're not going to give you your money back.
No, they don't.
Sorry, the show already happened.
That is very true. That's
You
a
know?
really good analogy for sure.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. It's like they're booking time for you, and it's very precious time. It's time, and it shows if they flake, it shows how they feel about themselves.
That's
Not
yes.
about you. It's never about the healer.
Right. Yes, it's what they're going through
Yeah.
internally.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, how would you say you would overcome some type of like fear or objection when, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you have a client and they say, well, I didn't feel anything, or, those type of like little moments that so far, my experience has been somebody feels something. I mean,
Right.
shivers, heat, something, and they feel great after. And I follow up with them. But I, luckily, I've had a very good experience. And what if you have someone that just they don't feel anything? So
I've
how
had
would
that.
you?
I've had that. I've had people very early in my career as a healer. I've had people say, "No, I didn't feel anything," and then kind of look at me like, "You fake,"
Right,
and it's all about having you always want to just be supportive and polite. It has nothing to do with you. You can't take it personally. And so what I would say, if somebody says, well, I didn't feel anything, you could say, you know what, give it some time. Okay. And actually, when I'm doing sessions on the phone, a lot of people don't feel anything. And I always say to them, you just have to give it a little bit of time.
right,
Give it a little bit of time, and it will, if you don't feel anything, it's okay, but I want you to understand that you did have a healing session, and it is working on some level. Maybe it's not working physically, maybe it's working emotionally or mentally or
right.
spiritually. I'll check in with you in the next 48 hours, 24 hours, and you can tell me if anything's come up for you. And
Okay,
if it doesn't, that's okay too. But nobody's ever said to me, I want my money back.
okay. And I think that's what I was trying to go for it.
Yeah.
What if you have like that, you know, the fear, the rejection, you're like, well, it didn't work. I need my money back, or
Yeah, no, nobody's ever said that. And if they did, it's like, well, I prepared this space for you, this time for you. So you can look at it like you paid for my time.
okay,
And if you are, and you don't want to say to them, well, it's not my fault that you can't feel it. You never say that. You always want to have a
right,
nice bedside manner and be polite and gracious,
right,
And so you could say, like, let's just give it some time, check in with yourself, see what happens. Most people that are coming to get a Reiki session are going to feel something because they're not out to lunch. They're not like, skeptical usually.
right.
They
They've done
believe.
some type of research about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so it's very rare that you would get that, you know.
Okay.
And that is a
So,
lot. I'm going to say this: there's a lot of healers that would be very afraid of that. Like, oh my God, I hope they feel something. It doesn't matter.
right, right.
Yeah.
Because it's not us. It's,
Yeah.
through the, and that's what I tell myself that, and I'm like, well, I don't know if you're gonna feel, or if you're gonna get a message, because normally I do, but
Yeah.
if you don't, just know it's working through you.
Exactly.
You're getting that, and just drink plenty of water after.
Yep.
That's one of the things. Just stay hydrated.
Right.
So
Right.
early on, you mentioned about promoting and having your business cards. On the business cards, what would you recommend? That's another thing that, like, I think I overthink. Like, should I put, like, this is what it's on the
Right.
session, or
Right.
what kind of information do you recommend?
I mean, it really depends on what you want to have on there in regards to what do you want people to know? You want people to know your name, obviously. You want them to know your website. Maybe your website has your pricing, maybe it has testimonials on it, maybe it has more information. It should, right?
Okay.
Your phone number, of course, and your email address. Those are the basics, right? But then what do you put for like a title? Well, you can put healer, you can put, Reiki Master, you can put, anything that you specialize in. If you want to say, specializing in, let's say animal healing, or specializing in crystal healing, or specializing in, you know, informational downloads or anything like that, right? But
Very good.
you don't want to put a whole, like, you don't need to put a book on there.
Okay.
You don't
Okay.
need,
That
right?
makes
You don't
sense.
need to,
Absolutely.
right? Keep it simple, smarty.
Okay.
AISS. Keep it simple, smarty.
Okay. Very
Instead of keep it simple, stupid, right?
good.
But yeah, I would say when I had a card, I usually had, and it's a little different in LA because everybody wants to see you, right? It's all visual.
Okay.
I had a picture of me on my card, my phone number, and I think I had on mine like sound healer teacher,
Okay. Okay.
sound healer, Reiki
Right.
Master teacher. Boom. That was it. That's a lot, actually. That's almost TMI. It's almost too much information, right?
It is. And if
But I
they
had a picture and my phone number.
Yeah, I guess that gives them enough so they can go into your website so they can research more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. If you want to write something more, give them a brochure.
yes,
Make a
that's
brochure.
very true. That's very true.
But
Very good.
expensive too. And there are websites online where you can get business cards for under $20.
Okay.
500 business cards is a lot of business
It
cards.
is.
Believe me.
It is.
People don't think it is, but it really is.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, depending on, how much you socialize, but definitely that is a lot.
Right.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. So if you have any other questions, let's do that, and I'll answer whatever, another question or two, and then we'll wrap up, and we can go from there.
Okay. I think the other one is when you market new customers versus existing customers, like how frequent is each one? New customers are a little different, obviously, but how do you market each? I'm just trying to think a little
How
bit
do
more.
you mark, like, how do you contact the existing customers?
Yes, versus
Brand new.
the brand new. Yes.
Okay. Well, brand new people, obviously it's the first time you're communicating with them. So you're, if you're looking for brand new people, I said earlier, you can do meetup, you can you can even post your business card at the local coffee shop, talk to your friends, text your friends. Who do you know? Do you know anybody? But if you have ongoing, like, let's say you've seen somebody once or twice, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's been about a month. I'd like to see them again, or they probably need it. I wonder if they need a session. I would call them up
Okay.
and just check in. Or you have an email, email them, I mean, I have clients that I've literally had for 15, 20 or more years.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I won't talk to them for a while or whatever, because they've got their lives and they're doing that. And then I'll just give them a call, or I'll text and say, I'm just checking in. How are you? How's things? How are you doing? Do you want to get a session? And
Okay.
be okay with whatever answer they have.
Okay. So it's not so, I guess, so technical that you're like sending out links or like these reminders or like flyer kind of setup emails or anything. Is more like one-on-one versus this whole, technicality, I guess.
Well, it's again, it's your individual clients are gonna, come. For me, okay, let me speak for myself. I tend to create personal relationships with my clients.
Okay.
I'm not like a local car wash where, like, yeah, I've been there a few times.
Right.
I don't know anybody's name, right?
Okay.
Healing is a very intimate, situation,
It is.
you know?
Absolutely.
So I'd like to develop long-term relationships with my clients, you know? And so sometimes I won't talk to them, or they've moved, you know, maybe we're friends on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I'll talk about that in a second too, but
Okay.
I'll reach out to them maybe on Instagram or wherever I'm reaching out with them. Hey, how are you? Type of thing. And Instagram is really different than Facebook. So Facebook, has Facebook pages, which is for businesses.
Okay.
And then you've got the Facebook profile, which is your profile, which your friends and family joined, back in 2007 or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And
Right.
then like on Instagram is kind of more open. So pretty much anybody can follow you, and you can follow anybody. It's kind of almost like Twitter, but Twitter's even like way out there in terms of like public, right?
Okay.
The most public. But Facebook, what I tend to try to do is I have my Facebook profile, and
Okay.
it's usually only for people that I actually know. Okay. And have their phone numbers, type of thing, and I
Yeah.
have a relationship with them,
Okay.
because I'm going to post a bunch of stuff on there that is my opinion, and it's not going to be public. It's going to be my opinion, private, and blah, blah, blah. My family and friends are going to joke around about it, and we're going to talk
Right.
about it. But then you've got the Facebook page, which is the public, front facing, I would call it you're putting your shingle out, right? Your business.
Right. Yes.
And I have everybody else join that.
Okay.
I
Got
post
it.
on that every single day, just like I post every single day on Instagram right now, and
Yes.
and so I have people contact me through that, because you can email people, call them, just like on Facebook. People tend to think that Facebook is more, it's more private because I'm on the profile
Okay.
of them, and that's true. It's a little bit more private because you can lock it down and stuff. But yeah, what I do is, for example, and I'm getting off on a tangent, but I'm telling you, because what I do is you can post, if your clients are on Facebook and they're on your business page, you can tag them, on the business page. Or if you do decide to have them on your private profile, so the business page is different than the profile, right? So let's say you decide to get them on your profile, you can just write to them, on Facebook.
Okay.
But again, I tend to talk to them on the phone. Sometimes I'll email, I'll email, hey, how are you? Instagram, I'll see that they like something. Hey, how are you? How are you doing? Hey, let's talk, and that's how I usually do it. But there's just so many different ways to do it. But if you're developing long-term relationships with your clients that you want them to come to you over and over again,
Right.
it's good for you to have their phone number, to text them, to develop that more intimate relationship with them. And then, put it on your calendar. You
Okay.
call them once every 90 days, or you call them once every 60 days.
Okay.
That's how I would do it,
Okay.
And let's say, for example, I haven't seen, I'll give you an example. The other day, one of my oldest clients I've had for years, I had not seen her for probably, I'm going to say maybe 3 or 4 months. And that's fine. She does her thing and blah, blah, blah. Right.
Right.
And then I text her the other day, hey, how are you? I'm just, checking in. How are things? And she's like, oh, I'm so glad you text me. I've been so busy. When can I see you?
Oh, great.
And that's how it works. They're like,
Okay.
oh, I'm so glad. When can I see, or they're like, yeah, I'm doing okay. Oh, and then I'll say, do you want me to come over or do you want to come over and do a session? And they'll be like, not now. Or, call me back in a couple of weeks when I have some money or something like that, 'cause
Right.
it's a reason,
Right.
oh, I'm going on vacation. I'll be back in, whatever, be back in a month. Call
Okay.
me then,
Okay.
but it's about developing, intimate intimate
Okay.
business healing. It's an intimate, practice,
It is.
you know,
Okay.
you want people
Very
to be able
good.
to trust you and come to you over and over again.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to think is like, okay, do I have to make it very kind of like a commercial, kind of like a business setting, or it can be more of that personal
You just
and
have to make sure you have impeccable boundaries.
very good.
You can
Yeah.
have wonderful bedside manner, connect with people, and then they don't have to know your life drama,
Absolutely.
whatever that is. They don't have to know, anything really, I mean, some of my students, I should say some of my clients, they know, like, oh yeah, she's got a big cat, she's got a cat and she plays all these instruments and, they know more about me, oh yeah, her mom, she hangs out with her mom or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
But they don't have to know any other details, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's about having good boundaries,
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Master Kataka. This has been really, really great.
Yeah.
Very informational,
I'm good. I'm glad that it's helped. So good.
eye-opening for sure.
Oh, good. Okay. And I always tell my students, I'm always here, I'm always here for them. I care a lot to give my students, I want them to represent We Heal University in a way that it's like, yeah, I went to We Heal University. I got the best, healing, education that,
Absolutely.
out there. So
Yes.
that's my goal,
Yes,
So,
definitely. It was great.
good,
Very
good.
informational.
Well,
I loved it.
thank you for showing up today, and I will be connecting with you soon. In fact, we should probably have a number 2, part 2 in 3 to 6 months, and you can let me know
Absolutely.
how you're doing with your business.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome.
I'll start applying them for sure. Thank you.
All right. Well, have a great evening, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thank you. You
Yeah,
too.
you're welcome. So everybody else, I just want to say, this is Help a Healer Out. Hopefully it helped you out. And and please be back, because we are doing these types of interviews on a regular basis and answering questions for healers who need some help.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, remember, you have to always remember that you are the Reiki source, and the Reiki source is within you, right?
Absolutely.
And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Bye.